Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to Legendary Marvel Midnight Suns. So this is the brand new set, which is really good timing for when it's coming out. I mean, maybe not the best timing. I guess there's no. It's good timing being of all the other stuff that's in here is coming out at the same time, or roughly, or has been. You know, to see some of the extra characters down here. Yeah, so if you're familiar, they have the new video game out called Midnight Suns with a U, which is based off of the Midnight Suns with an O original comic book, which is basically the group of supernatural beings fighting supernatural horrors. And right here on the cover here, we can see 4 of the main things on there. Of course, like also from the video game, is we have the big baddie. We have Lilith. Who's in the video game, and then of course we have Blade here. Then down the little short here, we can also see Morbius and Werewolf by Night, who are also 2 of the old members of Midnight Suns. Now, this is the characters I don't want to say are necessarily based directly off the old comic book or off the video game or any of that, but it's a good way for them to bring some of the supernatural characters together. We have some that have been presented before. We're getting new versions of some that haven't been presented yet. Lots of interesting new mechanics in here. Also, like I said, it ties into stuff because the Morbius movie just came out. It only came out a little while ago, so that's, hey, he's on people's minds. The Blade movie is going to be coming out. That's in the making. Werewolf by Night. I don't remember. Yeah, we just had the Werewolf by Night show. I was thinking, yeah, we just had that. So we had that, so of course, that's on there. And then the other 2 characters we're going to get to, well, only one of them's been in there, which I'll kind of keep hidden for the moment. There's only, 1 character I really wish they almost should have put in here instead. Not necessarily, not that I wanted to replace any of these characters. But sadly, Ghost Rider's not in here. I wish they've made a new version of Ghost Rider, because we haven't had any since Dark City, which is the second set. And there's been multiple different Ghost Riders, multiple different versions. So that definitely would have been a lot cooler, but that's alright. Alright, so a lot of our characters here, actually all of our characters here, are Marble Knights, which is usually the underworld or city level characters. So it's always awesome. We have more people there. And we'll look at everywhere else here. We have some new keywords, though. We have Blood Frenzy. Vampires and werewolves are famously crave the taste of blood. Fierce rage drives them to seek more of the red delight, gaining strength from every new kind of blood they drain. Blood Frenzy on a hero means you have +1 attack for each different VP value you have amongst cards in your victory pile. Likewise, a villain card during a turn has +1 for each different VP you have amongst cards in your victory pile. So it works the same way, just villains did it as well. So all the different numbers in there. So typically all the henchmen usually have about the same. Most of the masterminds have the same. Usually I think 6, I believe. Yeah. I think the henchman class is usually 1. So then it's just kind of the one in between. So you can probably get somewhere between 3 and 5, depending on the rest of the characters. So it says here, it only matters how many different values, not how many you have. So if you have a 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, and a 5, then it's giving 4. So for the 0, the 1, the 2, and the 5. So that means if it goes up to 6, you could potentially have a 7 bonus one way or the other. This includes bystanders in your victory pile. Horrifically, even heroic vampires and werewolves cannot always resist draining from the innocents. I think bystanders might be they might cost 0, they might cost 1. Whenever a VP, whichever VP a card is worth, not just as printer. If a Master Strike becomes a villain worth 4 VP, then it counts as 4. An undercover agent worth 1 VP counts as 1, 2. If a card gets in your victory somehow with no printer specific, it counts as 0. So that can help your thing as well. Alright, then we have Hunt for Victims. Sometimes sadistic villains ambush hunt for victims. This means tail a bystander that is captured by any villain or mastermind or in the escape pile. If you can't, then this captures a bystander instead. So Lilith and the willing benefit from the number of bystanders in the KO pile. So they're going to keep trying to KO guys. So it's just going to make rescuing bystanders that much more important. If a player fights them and captures a bystander, the player doesn't immediately rescue the bystander. When facing enemies, the hunt for victims, defeat the villain holding the bystanders quickly before they become hunted as victims. Alright, the new one we have is Hunt. Zarathos, so there's our other mastermind and his following, our other villain group, can control heroes' bodies and twisted puppets. They say things like ambush, haunt the rightmost unhaunted hero in the HQ. This means tuck that villain beneath that hero haunting it, so you can see the villain's name. Players can't recruit that haunted hero while a haunting villain is under it. Instead, players can spend the attack equal to its hero's cost to exercise that hero. If that player does, either they KO the haunted hero, or they choose a player to gain it. Then the haunted villain enters the city, ignoring its ambush effect it has. Okay, so that's kind of cool. So they come into play. They go under something they haunt, and then you have to basically fight it to release the demon. Then you can either KO that card and get rid of it, or you can give it to somebody. And I like that you have the option there, because just KOing it kind of sucks, but also forcing to give it to someone because maybe they haunt like a 2-cost card. It's late in the game, and nobody wants that card because they're like, we don't really need that low of a card in this point of the game. Well, the villain is haunting a hero. You can't fight the haunting villain itself. You have to spend attack to exercise it first, driving them into the city. Exercising fights, so you don't do any of their actions. You basically just ignore their card effects. So a hero can't be haunted by 2 abilities. They all say to haunt an unhaunted hero. Zarathos masters right and tactics can cause him to haunt a hero in the same way. Exercising a hero drives Zarathos back to the mastermind space. Ooh, so that might pull him potentially out of the mastermind area. A haunted hero is still a hero. It can still be affected by things that affect heroes. They'll escape in the city. KOs a hero. Can KO a hero if a card effect lets you gain a hero from an HQ or puts a hero on the bottom of your deck still work on haunted. However, the effects that say recruit a hero don't work on heroes that say recruit for free. Since you can't recruit them. So if you find some way of gaining them, or discarding them, or doing anything else that affects them, it still affects them, as long as it's not recruiting. If something causes a haunted hero to leave the HQ, well, that haunting villain stays in that HQ space and haunts the next hero that arrives. Oh, that sucks. The HQ space destroys any hero there, enters the city, ignoring its ambush effect. Alright. Then we have some returning keywords. We have Moonlight and Sunlight, which were originally in the New Mutant set. So it's awesome that these are coming back because keywords like this, especially ones that have like a big presence on the board, or really affect like other things that require other different cards of the same name, are really great to have more of so that you can play them together. Because currently, if you only have like 1 character or 2 characters use the Moon and Sunlight, they're not nearly as powerful or not as good. But now if you can have another up to 5 characters, you can mix and match some stuff. And that really are our last character. So we have Wong. It mentions who our last hero was, or one of our last heroes. So some cards say something like Moonlight, draw a card. Others say something like Sunlight, get 2 attack. Moonlight abilities only work when the most of the heroes in the HQ have odd number costs. Likewise, Sunlight only works when they have even. Besides heroes, some villains also gain extra abilities during Moonlight or Sunlight. If the tied number of odd and evens in a hero process HP space is destroyed, then it's neither Moonlight nor Sunlight is in effect. Only printed cost matters. Abilities that change the cost won't affect them. Haunted heroes are still heroes that count towards it. And divided cards or other cards just count as 1 card for it. You can remember that Moonlight abilities love odd numbers. Cost with the phrase, the odd one comes out at night. So here's kind of how they say it. Clever players can recruit cards out at crucial times to manipulate if it's Moonlight or Sunlight. When the villain escapes, KOing can also shift it. In the game, many Moonlight Sunlight effects some players like to shift their odd number cards down a little bit to show that. This makes it easier to tell if it's moonlight or sunlight. So what they did was they pulled all the odd cards down, so you can just quickly look at the board and be like, oh, 3 of the 5 cards are down, it's moonlight. And then, like, if this card got bought and it ends up being even, then you leave it there, you're like, oh, it's moonlight or sunlight. So yeah, it's a really interesting way to do that. Alright, then we have Patrol, which you've seen quite a bit in Secret Wars Volume 2 is where it debuted. So some cards will say things like Patrol the Bridge. If it's empty, draw a card. You can use the specified Patrol ability only in the specified city space has no cards in it. That space becomes empty later. Its turn is too late to use that Patrol ability. If the card effect causes a space not to exist, you can't patrol for that area. It's pretty simple. Like, if you defeat if you start your turn, there's no one on the bridge, you can patrol the bridge, use a special ability. Or, if there was someone on there, you can fight them, get rid of them. Now that it's empty, it's too late to use it. Like, well, you can and can't use it. What it means is you can't play a card to defeat someone, then use the patrol ability from a card that's already been played. But you could play cards, defeat someone, then play a card that says patrol that empty space. So you can patrol it after you've emptied it if you've already fought someone, and you can play a card later. But you can't retroactively use it after you've already played it. And then triggering abilities triggering separately. Some hero cards have sunlight or patrol abilities on it separate. Then separate abilities like range, you get +1 on the line. On another line. Do each of the cards one at a time in the order list. The second ability doesn't require both sunlight and play a card. Some sunlight abilities can move cards out of the HQ and enables them to move to moonlight. So all that's saying is something that, like, if it asks for sunlight or moonlight, can only be triggered if it's sunlight or moonlight, or if it has like an ability like patrol, it can like trigger if that space is empty when you play the card. But if they have a secondary effect on there, you still might get that bonus. So it might be worth playing it like, oh, it says patrol the bridge, but then it says I can, if I played another range card, I can draw a card. So maybe I can't patrol the bridge currently because something's in that spot, but I can still use my draw a card. Alright, that's pretty much that. Alright, let's hop into our characters. We're going to start with our heroes, and we're going to start with the one character we haven't talked about so far. And we have our Elsa Bloodstone. So we've had her before. She was in Secret Wars as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. So now we're going to get her Marvel Knights version. Sorry, trying to get my glare out of here. Alright, so we have 5 copies are common. We have Axe of the Slayer. Instinct, she has 0 and 0 attack and recruit for 3. Patrol the streets. If it's empty, you get 2 recruit. If it's not, you get 2 attack. If you have instinct, you get 2 and get both instead. So 2 recruit or attack for 3, pretty average. The fact is you could potentially get both, or you could get one or the other depending on which one it is. It's decent. Because the streets aren't empty, at least you have attack to try and take it out, and if they are, you get some recruit. I guess, it's not really necessarily any better or worse than if it was just one or the other. But definitely a cool idea. Then we have her other common, which we have 5 copies of, Silver Bullets. So she's also going to patrol the streets again. This is a tech card. 2 for 4. Patrol the streets. If it's empty, you get 1 attack. Attack, you get +1 attack. When demons want to scare each other, they tell stories of Elsa. Nice. So, yeah, it's not bad. You can get 3, potentially 4, if you play another tech card. So she's going to be Tech Instinct. We have our uncommon, which we have 3 copies of. Stalk the Night Stalkers. Another tech, 3 attack for 6 cost. You may have a villain or mastermind hunt for victims. If it KOs a bystander this way, you may KO a hero from your hand or discard pile. Interesting. So you can force them to get rid of something so that you can then get rid of a card. And if you play a tech card before that, If a bystander is KO'd this way, you may also rescue that bystander instead of putting it in the KO pile. Oh, so that's actually pretty cool. So, like, the initial part will help you limit your hand, get rid of cards out of your hand, make yourself better. But if you can definitely combine it with that tech, you can counter the negative part, and actually make it a positive. So that's actually pretty sweet. That's pretty cool. And then her ultimate card, we have Vengeance of the Bloodstone Gem. So this is another instant card. 0 recruit, 4 attack for 8. Patrol any city space. If it's empty, you get the printed recruit and attack of the hero in the H2 space under that city. If you play 2 Marvel Knight characters, she gets Blood Frenzy. So it's your extra attack for every VP. It's a very fun, versatile card then. Because patrolling any space lets her obviously get. So bare minimum, she's going to get 4. No matter what. 4 for 8 is not really that good. But the fact is you can get if you patrol a spot that's empty, she can gain a lot of extra attack. And recruit. And the fact is, there's a lot of times you can at least have the last space empty, or like the very last space empty because you've been keeping things eliminated, but maybe the first 3 or 4 are full. So it just depends on what's underneath and what's going to work best for you. Now, the only thing that's going to change how this card's really going to work is depending on how you refill the HQ. I think the official rules state that if you buy a card, you put the new card in replacement of it. So if you're playing that way, that could definitely change it, because you could be like, oh, there's nothing really great. Okay, I'll buy this 2-cost card, and all of a sudden now you buy a 2-cost card and you pull one that's like a 5-cost card that has like 4 attack. Awesome. So now you have a lot better options, because you can patrol that spot. But that's going to be different than if you like how I play it, where after I buy a card, I move everything to the left. And I keep constantly moving everything over to the left. And if something's in the city for too long, like after a couple of rounds, as a group, we can decide to reshuffle the last card, the leftmost card, back in there, just so our HQ constantly rotates if people don't stop buying stuff. So like in that sense, is that I would be able to play around with, like, if the third space is empty, I could buy the card on the third space, move the second space one over, and I know what I would be getting. So yeah, it might work differently. And then plus the Blood Frenzy could get very powerful depending on how many VP. My guess is on average, you'll probably have about 3. So even 4, 5, 6, 7, just easily 7 for 8 isn't very bad. Alright, let's hop into our next hero. We have good old Wongers. Wong, the Master of the Mystic Arts. So, this is fun that we got. We just had the Doctor Strange set not too terribly long ago. And he was kind of maybe the one almost glaring exclusion from it. But it's also fun is because we have Clea in there, who's also a Marvel Knights character. But I don't believe there's been a Doctor Strange. We've had the Illuminati version, and we've had the Avengers version, so we don't have a Marvel Knights version of him yet, which would be really cool. Alright, so Bridge Between Dimensions. This is a ranged attack. 1 attack for 2 costs. Patrol the bridge. If it's empty, draw a card. The Mystics of Kamartaj are duty-bound to guard portals of this world from extraplanar demons. So fairly simple card. But yeah, Elsa didn't have... Her cheapest one was 3, so having a 2 is nice. Potentially getting to draw a card is not bad. You see how it works with the rest of his abilities. We have 4 copies of Searing Shards of Sunlight. Another range attack. If you're on Sunlight, you get +1 attack. If you play another range card, you get an additional +1. So again, 2 for 4 is not that great, but you can probably fairly easily get this up to 3, maybe 4. You can be burned to death, stabbed to death, or irradiated to death, but only while facing Wong can you do all 3 at once. That's pretty funny. Alright, our uncommons, we have 3 copies of Seal the Rift. We have a Covert card. Patrol the bridge if it's empty. Draw 2 cards. If it's not, you get +5 attack. Usable only to fight villains on the bridge. So this is kind of Alistair is mainly protecting the streets, and Wong is basically protecting the bridge. So it's kind of an interesting thing. She's street level. She's getting down dirty. He's protecting the bridge, which is the portal essentially, what you're calling it. But yeah, it's certainly an interesting card though, because it's like either draw 2 cards, which could be very helpful, or you get 5 attack. 5 attack could be great in certain situations, but you could also utilize this when you know you just need to draw more cards. Alright, then his ultimate is Face Your Demons. It's another ranged attack. 6 attack for 8. Once during this turn, you may fight the top card of the bystander deck as if it were a 4 attack Dark Hole Demon villain with fight. Tail up to 2 of your heroes. Rescue this card as a bystander. If you're in Sunlight, you get 2 additional attack. Alright, so yeah, that's kind of a neat one. Just normally getting 6 attack for 8 is not bad. You also have the option to immediately fight something that has 4 attack, and you'll have 6. You can defeat it without any issue. And you can also tail up to 2 of your heroes. This could help you reduce cards in your hand as well, make your character a little bit better. Hopefully by the time you're buying the ultimate, you don't have to do that too terribly much. But if it's Sunlight, then you have 8 for 8, which is definitely a good deal. And you can always ignore the whole fighting the other guy if you don't want to. But this also could work, though, for helping out your team with or your deck with the Blood Fury or Blood Frenzy, because you could KO something and put a bystander in there if you didn't have one. Alright, let's go to our third hero. Alright, we have Jack Russell, or Werewolf by Night. Starlit Path, who has Instinct. Yes, if you're in the Sunlight, you get +1 attack. In the Moonlight, draw a card. By day, Talented Adventure. By night, a Talent Killer. 2 for 1, potentially 2 or draw a card. Both very good. For 2 cost, either just 2 attack, which is not bad, for the cheapness of it, or getting to draw cards. I think the Sunlight Moonlight thing is going to really play upon. It's a very interesting mechanic, because normally you're just like, I got a card that does the thing. Either I got the attack, or you could say I got to draw a card. But here you have the way to manipulate that. So you could, okay, maybe I don't really need that card, let me buy it. Or you could tell your team, like, someone's going to play right before you're like, dude, I have a bunch of cards that use Moonlight, so don't buy anything that's going to mess that up. Like, maybe if it's 4 odds and 4 odds and 1 even, like, okay, you can buy one of them, or you can buy the even cards. But, like, don't buy the odd cards because I can't have this shuffle because I have a really good turn. Like, you really need to communicate with your team on that. But that could definitely be a cool idea. Alright, we have 4 copies of Snarling Fangs, our strength cards, our first strength card of the set. Sunlight, you may put a hero from the HQ on the bottom of the hero deck. So just reshuffling them back in, that could be helpful. Get rid of a card that you're not going to be able to play or you don't need. And then Moonlight, whenever you defeat a villain or mastermind this turn, you may KO one of your heroes. So a lot of KOing your hero effects in this game. And then 2 for 3, which is pretty average. Alright, our three copies of the uncommon Release the Beast. So an Instinct. So he has Instinct and Strength, it looks like. Sunlight, get +3. Recruit, Moonlight, get Blood Frenzy. Instinct, get both. So you have another dual one. Dual ones are always fun, because usually there's always at least one character, we'll see if there's one in this set, that benefits from pulling a card out that has either an attack or recruit. And when you have dual cards, you can pull both. You can get that card no matter what. Because even though it's 0, it still counts as it. But yeah, so definitely this could be fairly good. 3 for 5. It's okay. It's not the best. But Blood Frenzy, again, is generally probably going to be 3 for 5 as well. So very interesting. Alright, then his final ultimate card is Track the Captives. Another instant 5/7 Moonlight. Whenever you defeat a villain or mastermind this turn, you may rescue a bystander or gain a hero from the HQ or sidekick deck whose cost is less than the enemy's attack. Instant, you get +2 attack. So 7/7 if you play another instant card. It's pretty good. But then also, if you defeat someone, you can get a thing. So defeating a villain can be very easy because you can have some very cheap villains. And then also gaining a hero from the HQ, rescuing the bystander could shut down some of the villain's effects for this particular set. Could be very helpful. Other villains or masterminds, it might not be as big of a deal to worry about rescuing guys. So you can just work on gaining the heroes. I also hope this is or sidekick deck, which really makes me hope they add some more new sidekick deck characters. Because we've had a couple. We've had like the Pet Avengers, but that's it. Otherwise, we've had like some Shield agents. In the one Shield set, we've had some heroic bystanders. But I'd love to have some more different sidekicks. So, alright, let's jump into our fourth hero. We got the vampire Michael Morbius. Mesmerize, so covert character. To recruit for 3 costs, Moonlight, Blood Frenzy, gain recruit instead of attack. Stare into the deep red eyes and find your mind drowning in the sea of bloody visions. Okay, so like some of the other ones where they have option, if either patrolling or if it's moonlight or sunlight, you have different options. This one's kind of the same idea. Although with Blood Frenzy, this could be very powerful. Again, I think on average it'll be 3 early on. It's not gonna be good until you defeat some stuff. But this could also very easily just right off the turn, like turn 1 or turn 2, could gain you. Not turn 1, turn 2, but like after a few rounds, this could easily get you some powerful attack right away. Extra 2 or 3 attack right off the bat, which isn't bad. Alright, our next common, which we have 4 of, is another instinct. We have Insatiable Cravings. So if you play another covert, get another Blood Frenzy. Otherwise, he has 2 attack for 5. Transformed by a blood transfusion from bats, Morbius the living vampire now has all the vampiric strengths and only 1 desperate thirsting weakness. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. He's really playing on the blood frenzy. I don't know if there's any way to maximize this. That might be the only thing with these guys is you might, kind of like the same as like the patrol. You might focus on taking out one guy over another guy, so that area is empty. Like Ellis's cars like to patrol the streets, or Wong's like the bridge. You might focus on taking out that versus taking out what might also be a different priority. So your deck is better. This could be the same idea with Blood Frenzy. You might focus on, well, I could take out this 2 henchmen, or I could take out this 1 villain. And if I take out the villain, I gain another VP, which makes all my Blood Frenzy better, versus taking out 2 cards. See, it might pull you in that direction, which is kind of interesting. Alright, then we have 3 copies of our uncommon Scalded by Sunlight. If it's Sunlight, you may gain a wound if you do get +2 attack. Moonlight, you may KO a wound in your hand or discard pile if you do get 2 attack. It's actually interesting when they add more cards that gain bonuses from gaining wounds. Lots of them give you wounds, but a way to get rid of wounds in case you have villains that give you ones. It's essentially giving, even if they put like 1 in every deck, or every box set, it gives you at least 1 kind of healing effect. Also though, this makes me wish they'd add more of the Grievous wounds, which had from was that Secret Wars 2? Which had more special effects. Normal wounds, they just kind of sit in your deck and clog up your hand. The Grievous wounds all had different effects to them. So I wish they made more of those types of things. Maybe some that had a permanent effect, almost like an artifact. They would stay out and constantly bother you instead of just bothering you when it came up in your hand. But that could definitely be an interesting idea. Because also make these characters that they can get rid of wounds things a little bit more effective or interesting because you have a wound that might be sitting out all the time, and you could opt, okay, do I want to get rid of this now and get rid of this constant effect, or that, or like just regular wounds, sometimes they clog up your hand. Meh, who cares that much? You can sometimes deal with it until there's too many of them, but like, it would give you more of a reason to buy cards like this if you had wounds that did worse things. Alright, so let's look at his ultimate. It's Morbing time. Of course, the meme. Another covert card, 3 for 7, which is terrible. But he has Blood Frenzy, drawing that many cards instead of gaining attack. Interesting. So he's still going to do 3 for 7 no matter what, which isn't that great. But if you played another covert card, so there's a little bit of a requirement to it. You could potentially draw, again, even if your average is 3 cards, 3 more cards could definitely get you a lot more than like 3 or 4 more attack very easily. Especially if he's already using Blood Frenzy and he keeps combining that with other cards. But again, if you also look at the fact is, you could potentially, I think the highest VP is 6. There might be something higher, but I think that's the highest with most masterminds. So you could have 0 to 6, you could potentially have 7. So if you had all 7 different numbers in there, somehow when this card came out, you could have 10 attack. Except you wouldn't be 10 attack. With Blood Frenzy, it would be 10 new cards. You're drawing 10 new cards. Even if you're drawing 5 more cards, you know, that's not, yeah, you're drawing 5 more cards instead of 7. That's still pretty crazy. Alright, then our last hero, who we've seen before back in Dark City, but he's making his glorious return, is Blade. But now this is Blade Daywalker, just to separate him from the other one because he's still a Marvel Knights character. Where monsters lurk, we have 4 copies. Patrol the rooftop, if it's empty, draw a card. Or patrol the sewers, if it's empty, get +1 recruit. So 2 recruit for 4. It's okay. Could be 3, but you also could draw a card. Now he gets to do both of these, so both are empty. You get a card and a +1. Alright, then we have some more text cards, which we haven't had too many of. We have 4 copies of Ride by Moonlight. You may move a villain to another city space. If another villain is already there, swap them. Moonlight, you get +1 attack. So 3 for 5. But just to help him clear stuff for the patrolling cards. So this is kind of nice. He'll work very well with setting up patrolling for other characters or even himself. So we've had Strength, Tech. We're going to get Instinct. Hunt high and low. Patrol the rooftops if it's empty. Reveal the top card of your deck, you may KO it. And patrol the sewers if it's empty. Reveal the bottom card of your deck, you may KO it. 2 for 3. Pretty good stats there. Yeah, option to reveal cards. And KO stuff, limit your deck. This set has a lot of stuff with doing that. But it's also, so we've had Elsa patrolling the streets, Wong patrolling the bridge, and Blaze patrolling the rooftops and sewers. So we have 1 space that didn't get patrolled. And our ultimate card for him is Creature of Dawn and Dusk, our strength card. So he covers most of the colors. Sunlight, you get +2 attack, and you may put a hero from the HQ on the bottom of the hero deck. Interesting. Moonlight, Blood Frenzy. So part of the reason why a couple of these cards have the ability to move a card to the hero deck isn't just to refresh it, like, oh, it's that. It's because it's to help. It might help with the Sunlight, Moonlight aspect. So like here, for example, if we're currently in Sunlight, and you play this card, get your +2, put a card from the bottom, you could then move it to Moonlight. I don't think it would actually activate the Moonlight ability because it wasn't active already, but it would definitely set you up if you had other Moonlight cards ready to play. Otherwise, it has 4 for 7, which is okay, but you can easily get +2, which makes it 6 for 7, which isn't bad, or you can have Blood Frenzy, which could again be very high. Yeah, so definitely cool there. Alright, so that is all of our heroes. Definitely some interesting mechanics. There's a lot of different mechanics, which, I don't know, sometimes that seems good. Like, lots of interesting recurring stuff. Neat things like patrolling comes back, moonlight, sunlight, plus the new ones. The only downside is sometimes just way too many mechanics. Just, I think, kind of like clogs up the game a little bit. But that's alright. We'll see what happens. Alright, let's look at our villains. We're going to start with Lilith, the Mother of Demons. She has 8 health. She has +1 for each bystander in the KO pile. So the more guys do, the more powerful she's going to get. She always leads the Lilin. Master Strike. Lilin hunts for a victim. If she KOs a bystander, this way each player gains a wound. So there we go. That's why we need Morbius's healing ability. Yeah, so she's going to definitely try and take out these villains. Then if we flip her to her epic side, now she has 10 +2 for each bystander in the KO pile. And Master Strike hunts for victims. If she kills a bystander, way each player gains a wound to the top of their deck. So they're going to draw it even quicker. Yeah, fortunately though, there's not really any way to get villains or bystanders out of the KO pile. So once they're KO'd, they're done. Like, some of these villains have the way to, like, become more powerful temporarily, or you could do something to, like, eliminate that. This one, as they get, she's going to get more powerful. So the longer you take to defeat her, or you don't rescue bystanders, the harder she's going to get. Her tactics are respawn demonic offspring. The highest VP villain from among all Victory Palace enters the city. The player who had that villain rescues 3 bystanders. Okay, so at least that's kind of helpful. But then she hunts for victims, so she's going to take some. Don't go any escape or ambush effects until after you've done all the other effects on the card. So play that guy, hunt for victims, and then if they have an ambush, do that, or if someone escaped, do that. Interesting. Alright, Mesopotamian Demon Goddess. Fight. Each other player may discard a card for each bystander in the KO pile. Each of these players who didn't must gain a wound. Then Lilith hunts for victims. So, this is what is very interesting. There's not a lot of cards in this set from the heroes that let you just straight up rescue bystanders. Maybe to try and empty the deck. You do something like that, or rescue one from a villain. So, your only way to do it is defeat them characters as quickly as possible. And there's only one way to prevent wounds so far. Offer of Corruption. Fight. Choose one. Gain a wound and each other player KOs one of their heroes, or KO one of your heroes and each other player gains a wound. Interesting. And then Connoisseur of Souls. Fight. You get +1 recruit for each bystander in the KO pile, and then she hunts for victims. Nice. Interesting. I kind of wish they had a special bystander for this. We could have been like the tie-in maybe with the video game. We could have been like Caretaker. That would have been kind of neat, right? Alright, then we have some villains for her willing. Then we have Blackout. Moonlight. Blackout gets +1 for each bystander in the KO pile. Ambush. Hunts for victim. If it's Moonlight, hunt for victims again. Escape. After the normal escape, KO Moonlight, each player gains a wound. Oh boy, this guy is a pain. Because yeah, he's gonna get more powerful, but if it's Moonlight, he's even worse. We have Sister Nil. At Moonlight, she gets +2 attack. Ambush, hunt for victims, and each player reveals more non-gray heroes than the number of bystanders or gains a wound. Escape. Each player discards a hero with an odd number cost. Alright, then we have 2 copies of Skinner. So I remember him from being a Ghost Rider villain, which is why I was like, with this and like Zarathos, I'm surprised again they didn't have Ghost Rider in this set. I think, like, being that we already had Alistair Bloodstone in another set, I think Ghost Rider would have made a better idea. The original one was Danny Ketch, so they could have had Johnny Blaze in there. Or even, like, a variation. Like, I don't necessarily want, like, Robbie Reyes or, I can't think of her name, the female Ghost Rider. Or, like, one of the other ones. I think I would have wanted one of the original 2. But yeah, I think that would have been a better fit, especially for who some of these characters are fighting are. But maybe they didn't because maybe they're planning a Ghost Rider set or something more along those lines. So maybe that's why they didn't. But here we have Stinger, who gets +2 if there are at least 4 bystanders in the tail pile, ambush, hunt for victims, spite tail. Now, also to notice here for our costs, our boss, of course, has 6 VP for Blood Frenzy. This guy has 5, and we have a bunch of 4s so far. So far for this group, we have 3 different numbers. And then we're going to get 2 copies of Meat Market, which will give us a 3 VP. Meat Market gets +1 attack for each bystander in the tail pile. Ambush, hunt for victims, spite, you may tail a card from your discard pile. And then we have 2 copies of Outcast, who has 2. So we get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So all but 1s, which are usually bystanders, and 0s just from this set. So they give you a lot of options for that. Blood Frenzy. Hunt for victim, then each player reveals a random card from their hand. If that card costs less than the number of bystanders, that player discards it. So I remember him as well from Ghost Rider, especially from the toys. They have like glow-in-the-dark features. I love glow-in-the-dark stuff as a kid, so I bought all the Ghost Rider toys. So it's like, I have figures that stand around and glow in the dark. So I remember him and Stinger being 2 of them. Alright, so that was the Lilith and the Falling. Next up, we have Zaratov, who is a guy that possesses the demons for Ghost Rider. Plus, we had Zaratov as a Ghost Rider-y character, big bulky guy. Michael. Oh, I want to say his last name started with a B. But he was definitely pretty badass too. He always reads the Fallen. Master Strike. If any heroes in the HQ are haunted, each player gains a wound. Then Zaratov is not already haunting. He haunts the highest cost unhaunted hero in the HQ. So this guy's going to keep jumping and haunting guys. So you have to then pay that cost to defeat him to put him back. So he's going to be harder to take out. He has 7. His epic has 9. Any hero in the HQ are haunted, each player gains a wound, then he is not already haunting. Haunts the highest unhaunted hero in the HQ, then reveal the top card of the villain deck. If it's a villain, it haunts the highest cost unhaunted hero in the deck. That's actually cool because he could make heroes that don't have the haunt ability, or villains that don't have the haunt ability haunt. Eruptions of Hellfire. Fight Zaratov. Zaratov haunts the highest cost unhaunted covert or ranged hero in the HQ. Each other player discards one of those 2 or gains a wound. Corrupted by the Spirit of Vengeance. Zaratov haunts the highest cost unhaunted instinct or covert hero. Each other player discards one of those or discards down to 3 cards. Imprisoned in the Soul Crystal. He haunts either a strength or instinct. If you have one of those heroes, you may KO a villain from your victory pile. If you do, draw cards equal to that villain's VP. So that might not be bad. If you have a couple, because you're like, oh, I have a couple of 2s or I have a couple of 3s, you could get rid of 1. You don't need them for Blood Frenzy. But what might suck is if you only have 1 or 2. But again, it's a May effect at least. So that's not too bad. Demonic Essence of Ghost Rider. He haunts the highest ranged or strength hero. If you have a ranged hero, you may KO one of your heroes. If you have a strength hero, you may KO one of your heroes. A lot of KOing effects and stuff like that. This guy's not too bad for his effect. The haunting attack is going to make him hard to beat. If you get haunting stuff, then you have to spend attacks to get rid of him to put him back. So it's going to be harder to take him out. But he doesn't get like terribly overpowered like Lilith can. So that's not bad. Although there's a lot of stuff with gaining wounds. And again, Lilith stuff had a lot of those as well in the Willing. And so, again, of all the heroes, Morbius is the only one that had any way of getting rid of wounds. Alright, we have the Fallen. These guys are kind of interesting. We have Salome, Sorceress Supreme. She's a bat lady. I don't know who she is. I don't know who some of these characters are, but she has Blood Frenzy, so she's going to gain bonuses for VP. Fight up to 2 cards from your discard pile. Escape Salome ascends to becoming an additional mastermind. She gains the ability Master Strike. Each player discards a Marble Knight's hero or gains a wound. Oh, that's awesome. I love it when villains can ascend. So he had 6. She has 5. We have 2 copies of Mega Archis, who has 4 VP. Blood Frenzy with 3 attack. Ambush, haunt the rightmost unhaunted hero next to you. Fight, KO one of your heroes. At least luckily you can gain a card, and then you can KO that one. Well, you can't. You can give the card to someone else, I guess. We have 3 copies of Patriarch, who has a 3 VP. 4 attack, ambush, haunt an unhaunted hero in HQ that costs 3 or less. Fight, reveal the top card of your deck. If it costs 3 or less, draw it. And then finally we have Atrocity, who has a 2 VP, so we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 again. 3 attack, ambush, haunt the leftmost unhaunted hero in HQ. Fight, rescue a bystander. Alright, so the haunt decks, I always feel like Lilith is like hard mode. Zeratul and the other guys are a little bit easier. The haunt mechanics is going to be kind of hard to play with because the guys are going to keep disappearing. They could, if you defeat them, they could jump into the city. So sometimes you'll have to argue, okay, if I want that card, I have to fight this guy. Then I have to put him into to either get rid of that card or get rid of him. I have to put him in the city. We have to watch putting a guy into the city because you might push everybody. So some definitely interesting strategies there. Alright, we forgot to talk about the schemes. How could we forget schemes here? Alright, we have Ritual sacrifice to summon Chthon, who's big Lilith Elder God type character. Set up 6 twists plus 1 per player. Add Willing as the extra villain group. If using Lilith, use 1 twist total, and still use the extra villain group. I'm wondering if the reason why you only use her as if she's the mastermind, if you only use 1 twist instead of 6 plus 1 per player, is because if she activates hunts for victims so much more often. I'm not sure. She says twist 1 or 4, a villain or mastermind hunts for victims. And I think that's why, because she's gonna hunt for them all the time anyhow. And I think if you had her, she's gonna double it up a lot more. So it says we have 5-11, the mastermind hunts for victims. Special rule: when 5 bystanders are KO pile, shuffle all twists from the KO pile back to the villain deck. Then the steam transforms into the great old one Chthon, flip it over, then KO all other masterminds and their remaining tactics. So I think the idea is because she has enough effects with her when you defeat her or her master strikes hit, that she's already going to KO enough stuff that having her plus having 6 twists, you'd be KOing stuff constantly. But this is really cool. The first time we've had schemes that flipped over before, they reverted to other schemes. We've had ones where you can mix and match them, and now we have one that actually turns into a mastermind. So it's a cool way to use the design space. So it's a mastermind transformed. Master Strike or Twist. Destroy the current player, shuffle the strike or twist back into the villain deck. Chthon wins when all players are destroyed. This card only starts the game as a steam on the other side. 27 health, which might not even be the highest. Galactus or Thanos might have 28. But still it's pretty good. But also gets 13 victory points, which is just a good number. That's actually a really cool effect. Like, it's a neat way. Like, he's not gonna come out like turn 3, 4 in the game. He's gonna take a while to come out. But then when he does, boom, he's gonna hit hard. Alright, up next we have Midnight Massacre. Set up 11 twists. Add all 14 cards for any Blade hero to the villain deck. So cool. So you could, if you really wanted to, you could play Blade Daywalker from this set and use the Dark City Blade in there. Special Blade hero cards in his villain deck, and the city are demonically possessed Switchblade villains with an attack equal to their printed cost. The only abilities are Sunlight. To fight this, you must also spend 3 Recruit or Moonlight Blood Frenzy. Fight either KO this card or choose a player to gain it as a hero. Twist. For each Switchblade villain in the city end or escape pile, KO the top 3 cards of the hero deck. No matter how many there were, play another card from the villain deck. Evil wins when the hero deck or villain deck run out. That's actually kind of cool. So you've had other heroes that have had to come in and play as villains. Jean Grey, I know, was one of them, top of my head. That's a really neat way to, like, incorporate some of the heroes into them. I myself have been working on, and I'm still working on, when I get them all, I'll show them off. I'm making customized cards for things like this. So, like, I can just put these Switchblade villains in the deck, and then maybe have the other Blade deck sitting aside. Then, hey, if you beat him, then you can take one of those other cards. Then that way you don't have to try and remember what he does in this. And plus, I'm using different artwork and trying to make the game more thematic. So it'll be kind of neat. So this is kind of a cool other one I can add. Our third scheme is Wager at Blackjacks for Heroes' Souls. 11 twists, 2 extra heroes. Reveal the top. So this one you can't play. This one, much like the one we just saw, you can't play by itself because you wouldn't have enough heroes. So that's hopefully the third one's not like that too. I mean, technically I guess you can because you have to have the base game to play it. Anyhow, so you can take the base game characters and mix them in. You just can't play it specifically only this set by itself. You have to use stuff from another set. Real cards from the hero's deck, adding up their total cost until you choose to stop or your total exceeds 21. If your total exceeds 21, you bust and the mastermind wins the wager. If you didn't bust, then you do the same thing for the mastermind, stopping as soon as their total is at least 17. If their total exceeds 21, they bust. You win the wager. If no one busts, then you win the wager. If your total is higher... if your total is higher. If the mastermind's total is equal to or higher, they win. Okay, so it's blackjack, 21. Except instead of having cards that could be, 10s, like the face cards, you're going to have, nothing's probably higher than like 6 or 7 usually. If you win, you may gain one of the revealed heroes that cost 6 or less. If the mastermind wins, stack one of the revealed heroes next to the scheme as a wagered soul. Either way, put the rest of the heroes to the bottom of the hero deck in a random order. Evil wins when there are 4 wagered souls. Okay, oh boy, because there's 11 twists. This is an interesting scheme, just because it's going to make the game play. 11 twists, this is going to come up a lot. So that means for you to guarantee victory, it's what, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, you have to win 8, 7, you have to win 7 of the time, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Nope, you have to win 8 times to guarantee victory. So if you lose 2 of them, you lose 3 and you're sitting on that last one, and there's still, 6 schemes left in the deck, or twists left in the deck, that's gonna suck. Also, the fact is having 2 extra heroes in there, if you're gonna be cycling through them, it's gonna be a lot harder to come up with stuff. But what you need about this, particularly adding to this Midnight Sunset, is you could add other cards that have patrol, like stuff from Secret Wars. So you could, like, they have the other Elsa, or you have Spider-Gwen. I don't think she was Ghost Spider yet. But you have other cards like that, like Akron, or that. You could have other Marvel Knights characters from, like, Dark City, Moon Knight from Spider-Man, Pinky Tongue Red, or Ghost Rider. You could get other Midnight Suns characters. You kind of maybe make it a little bit more thematic. Or you could add some of the New Mutants and have more of the Moonlight, Sunlight thing. You could have Magic in there, because she was part of the video game one. So that'd be kind of cool. But it also makes it harder to, like, make specific combos while saying you have another, 14, 28 cards in there? Alright. Then the last scheme is Sire Vampires at the Blood Bank. 10 twists, add an extra henchman group of 10 cards as the Vampire Neo Knights. Put the scheme above the bank to mark it as the Blood Bank. Special rule, all Vampire Neo Knights also have Blood Frenzy, and while the in a blood bank, they instead have double blood frenzy. Twist: if there's a villain at the blood bank, stack a card from the bystander deck next to the steam as a vampire thrall. Otherwise, move a villain from another city space to the blood bank. Either way, play another card from the villain deck. Okay. Evil wins there are 5 vampire thralls or the villain deck runs out. So twist: when there's a villain in the blood bank, which is the bank on the board, stack a card from the bystander deck next to the steam as a vampire thrall. So basically, you turn someone at the bank into a vampire. Otherwise, the villain moves from another city space to the blood bank. So if there's already a villain there, they turn someone. If not, then you move someone there. But then you get to play another villain anyhow, which can definitely keep pushing stuff and doing things that way. Crazy. Alright, so that's pretty cool. Alright, so there are 4 different ones. So definitely some neat different gameplay elements. I'm always amazed at how they can keep coming up with all these different little things to do with the game and use the gameplay space. The mastermind's pretty cool. We've had, again, different takes on the twists. I can definitely see that being like a reoccurring thing. Like maybe not every single set, but I wouldn't mind seeing that more often. Just a villain that becomes a mastermind. That would be a neat way to have corrupted characters or different things. I even love to just almost see maybe a special box set that's just updating cards from the past with things like that. Because that'd be kind of neat, something like that, Dark Phoenix. Maybe you have Jean Grey in there, and then so much thing happens, and she flips over and becomes the Dark Phoenix. If so many escape or something, and Steam actually transforms, or something like that, or a hidden traitor, something like, Zorn and Magneto, stuff like that. There's some definitely interesting things with someone have this Steam, and it flips over to have a brand new mastermind, multiple masterminds, stuff like that. Alright, that's what we have for the Steam twists, or Steams. That is what we have for the Midnight Suns. So, it's fun to see that we're getting into some of the Marvels, getting into some of the other stuff, because again, we went from core set, we had mainly Avenger characters, and some, do we even have Marvel Knights in there? I don't remember. We only went to Dark City, which is the first big box expansion, and we had lots of the Underworld type characters. That kind of, we still have Marvel Knight characters throughout the game, but we kind of went away from that. Now we're getting back into some of the Doctor Strange set recently. We went cosmic for a while. We had Inhumans and Annihilation and Into the Cosmos, Guardians, Thor even, and then we had a lot of Avengers and event sets. Now we're getting into some of the mystical stuff. So I don't actually know what set is coming out next. I know the only other one that had been semi-announced at one point was the Eternal set, but that was supposed to come out, I think, before Doctor Strange or after Doctor Strange, so 3-4 sets ago. But I don't know if because the movie didn't do as well as people had thought it was, if they just canceled that set, they're I guess people aren't gonna really like these characters. Because maybe it was supposed to be based off of the movie, and not just the comic book ones. But then I also wonder if they maybe are gonna push it back, and then they just had the big comic book story, Avengers, X-Men Eternals, the Axe set, or storyline. And I wonder if maybe people were also kind of yeah, we didn't really like the Eternals in that one either, so maybe they, again, kind of pushed it off again. So who knows? Maybe they're still working on it, maybe they canceled it indefinitely. Not for sure. Alright, but that's what we have. We always love more legendary stuff. Hope to see you guys later. Bye.